Okay. Well, there's your run and gun shooters here at E3, but then there's things that are a little bit more tactical, a little more flavoursome of the reminiscent of the Rainbow Six, the classic Rainbow Six style. Would that be correct?
That's absolutely correct. Yeah, we come from a pretty hardcore background. I am working with a great creative director, Christian Allen, and he's known for Ghost Recon and Halo Reach, and definitely comes from that pedigree of a little bit slower, more measured, and definitely, like you say, tactical approach to gameplay.
It's Kickstarter, yeah?
That's correct, yeah. We come from, it was about April 1st or so that I think we launched our Kickstarter. Yeah.
What I thought was interesting, you were saying just before the interview that you were talking about whether you would do split screen, whether you could have weapons up and down. There's that sort of choice where you guys are really just making this the core experience, the key experience that you want to see on screen.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, the whole reason we're here is literally because of the fans, people who put their hard-earned money behind our project and what we believe in, and obviously they believe in it too, so yeah.
Can you sort of run us over, I mean, we know it's a tactical shooter, sort of the play style, the levels, how does it work out? What's the structure?
So we're a close quarter combat, we call it CQB. We have 6 players co-op, and that's actually critical for our game. We focused on co-op, 12 players for adversarial play. You can go through single player, but it is, as we say, very lethal, so that causes a pretty heavy emphasis on teamwork, and it helps to have human players in there doing that, so yeah.
Minimal UI as well, no mini-map. You're having to use eyes and ears, yeah?
That's correct. So our focus is heavily on realism. I mean, we started in a realistic environment and then worked back to infuse gameplay. I mean, everywhere from the architectural design, our senior environment artist has an architectural background, looks at things very realistically. You have multiple entry points, and that's really important for trying to attack a particular location, as opposed to a more linear type of game where you're going from point A to point B going through a cinematic experience. In our case, it's very much you have an objective. It's up to you to decide how to accomplish that objective, and you can do it in many different ways.
Well, is that a case of the players who only first get eyes on with a map when they're actually in it? There's no sort of pre-plan or anything like that. So I can imagine the first couple of times coming through, you're really just ghosting the area trying to get an idea of the layout.
Absolutely. I think as you go through each of these maps, I think what you'll find is you're not learning the map itself, or you're not learning about the beats of the game. Like, oh, I know in 50 yards I'm going to end up attacking an enemy, or I'm going to run into a series of waves of enemies. What you end up doing in our game is learning how to play with your team. Things like scouts actually are pretty important, or at least people who go in and do scouting for you on your behalf to eke up, see what's up there, and maybe come back. And everybody picks their weapons accordingly. Everybody's got their preferences. However, it is really important to understand that just because you have a preference, it may not be the best thing to go into that particular map or level. Some of the maps are going to be headquarters of buildings, very close quarter combat. We have other maps that have longer range spaces, so you have to pick weapons that will be able to reach out and take somebody at longer distances, which may not be as beneficial in some of the smaller close quarters map because they're banging into things, so that does actually make a pretty big difference.
With the weapons then, with choosing the weapons, is it a case of you have to unlock them, you have to buy them? I mean, is that tied into an experience system or a skill system?
Well, kind of going back to what we were talking about with being Kickstarter based and having fans, they made it really clear that they wanted access to all of the weapons. We like to say it's choices with consequences. We give you the freedom to choose what you want. If you choose poorly, then that's on you. But on the flip side, you have enough options to be able to configure your weaponry in a way that again, really helps attack the particular type of map you're in, or the particular type of game you're playing, game mode that you're playing. So there will be no unlocks for us. Yeah, absolutely.
How have you found dealing with a Kickstarter campaign versus, what you consider more traditional sort of games development?
Yeah, I think on our team, most of us have been in the AAA environment for no less than 10 years. So there's a lot of experience in our team. That's pretty cool to go through, and you look at AAA and you're seeing, oh, we've got X number of milestones, we've got marketing input that comes in. With Kickstarters, you can kind of cut through all of that. You have people who care about your product, right? As a result of that care, they are deeply involved in the process. It's kind of a new way to do development, at least that's new for me. As a senior producer, I'm kind of trying to see which of the pieces of the game are most important to go in and prioritize. With Kickstarters, you get to listen to them, and they can tell you, what's most important. We were talking before about, weapon up versus weapon down, an important feature in our game. Versus like split screen. You can ask your Kickstarters, what's most important? Where do you want us to spend our time? And it's been pretty cool to see that time and time again, their focus has really been on gameplay. Like, make it realistic, make it lethal, make it challenging. And through that, I think the fun kind of comes out of that, at least the tension anyways.
It's interesting where Kickstarter has just completely exploded over the last year. And you think experience counts in this sort of field, that because it's such a grassroots marketing to get the money and everything like that, the guys that have had the experience, like you said, you guys have been no less than 10 years, you need to basically get that out there. That's the push to say, look, you give us the money, we can guarantee you the experience.
Right. Well, I think, for us, it's all a learning. I mean, when we got into it, it was pretty new. And like halfway through our own Kickstarter campaign, we kind of had to do a reset. Christian is great to work with because he's very transparent. One of the things that we realized when we weren't trending very well is that, wow, we have a lot to learn about Kickstarter. There were some that were wildly successful, and there were others that were really struggling. To be candid, we were actually having a tough time. But Christian, true to form, said, hey, you know what, if I'm going to go through this and have a tough go, why don't I teach people? Like, maybe they can learn from my experience. And so he wrote an article on Kotaku, said, hey, here's the things that you need to learn from Kickstarter. Here's what I've learned. I think through that process, we polished up our Kickstarter campaign. We had a great tweet from Notch from Minecraft, and that helped a ton. But again, that was a learning experience for us, and it doesn't necessarily work for everybody. In our case, it happened to work that we were able to say, this is the pedigree that we've got, in terms of the game that we want to produce. You guys care about it. You want to help us produce it. I don't know if you could say it's the new way to do games, but it certainly feels that way for us. Yeah, for sure.
Steam and Xbox Live being released on. Obviously enough, Steam's going to be a bit easier in terms of getting through all those processes and everything like that. So you want to sync them up so the releases are simultaneous?
That's the intention, yeah. I mean, obviously, there are certain things that are going to be out of our control, but yeah, we hope to do that. It'll be digitally distributed, and we're looking to release probably sometime in the fall, yeah.
Thank you very much indeed for taking the time to talk to us.
You bet, Gillen. Thanks for having me.